last name so that we can record that for the minutes?
Let me do that before we get started. So we have Evan Piccioli.
Mhm.
And then Karina Chang. Arlo Tucker.
Okay.
Zoe Weissman. And then myself, Henry Millward.
Very good. And I see, before you start, I see we have Christine Feely on. Welcome, Christine. We have Jen Evans from TV. We have somebody with a phone number that starts with 609. You identify yourself?
Yes, this is Daniel Becerra.
Hello,
I'm
Daniel.
West Hartford resident, and I sent a note of interest to the commission a while ago.
Wonderful. Yes, we know who you are. And we have Reach Daniel Johnson.
That's Daniel Johnson from the Bike and Pedestrian.
Welcome aboard. And I see we have Stephen Sack as well. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
That's quite all right. Henry, would you and your team like to share the screen, or would you just like to talk?
I think, yeah, we just want to talk. And then after, as people have questions about the resolution, if you could keep the actual resolution up on the screen share, that would be nice.
Would
Is
you
that
like
okay,
it?
Bernie?
Would you like it up?
Henry may also add Phil Herder in support of the resolution.
Oh, yeah, Phil.
All righty. Okay, would you, as you do your presentation, would you like the resolution up, or would you like to see that afterwards?
Maybe afterwards, if that's okay.
That's fine. Okay. Take it away, folks.
Okay.
Hello, West Hartford Clean Energy
Wait,
Commission.
Bernie, your screen's still sharing. Can you unshare so that we can see Evan's face?
Stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you. That's good. Now we can see Evan. Sorry, Evan.
It's all good. Hello, West Hartford Clean Energy Commission. We appreciate the time you've given us to speak with you tonight. Some of you might know us from our previous presentation, but for anyone new joining us tonight, let us introduce our group to you. Hi, I'm Evan and a freshman from Conard, and one of my favorite memories growing up in West Hartford are the beautiful lush parks, such as the Reservoir and Fern Ridge. I, being a runner, love to run through West Hartford's parks, breathing the fresh, crisp air, looking at the serene landscapes. My family and I also enjoy going on walks through this town. Sometimes we will walk through the center in the busiest parts, or in the town, sometimes towards the reservoir to be more in nature. West Hartford is also a great town for being social. Even with the new COVID-19 restrictions, there are still plenty of places for my friends and I to hang out, like in the center or in the municipal parks. It goes without saying that West Hartford is second to nothing to being a great town to live in. Arlo?
Hello, my name is Arlo Tucker, and I'm a freshman at Conard High School. One of my favorite things about West Hartford are the beautiful autumns that we have. I love walking around places like the Reservoir, Wolcott Park, and just around my own neighborhood. The smells of the wind, sound of the leaves under my feet, and the colors on the trees make me incomparably happy. My memories of this town intertwine with the feelings of fall, creating an experience that is unlike anything I could have in any other place. This is one of the things that makes this town so special to me and many other people who live here. Zoe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. My name is Zoe Weissman, and I am also a freshman at Conard High School. Out of all the wonderful sights in West Hartford, Elizabeth Park holds a special place in my heart. Every spring and summer, the whole place is in bloom, full of families and gorgeous flowers. The grass, a fairy tale shade of green, pond alive with ducks, and a gazebo hidden behind a forest of rose bushes. A magical place for any child to explore or any adult to be in awe of. On Wednesday nights, when they had live music, the lawn would fill up with endless families carrying their dinner in a picnic basket, prepared to enjoy the beautiful scenery, as well as the community atmosphere of hundreds of individuals all coming together to enjoy nature and each other's company. It felt like a piece of West Hartford's spirit, being united over what we love, in this case, the beauty and preciousness of our town. Next, Karina.
Hi, my name's Karina Chang, and I'm the newest member of the team. I'm currently taking a gap year before I attend William and Mary in the fall. And one of my favorite memories growing up in West Hartford is the visits that I would take to Westmore Park. Ever since I was young, I really loved animals, so my parents would bring me to the park so I could see the horses, cows, and bunnies that live there. I really enjoyed learning about the animals' different personalities, watching them graze out in the pasture, and even petting them sometimes. We also enjoyed walking through the woodzier parts of the park, pointing out turtles and ducks in the ponds, and simply relishing in the beautiful outdoors. And now that I'm older, it's harder for me to find the time, but I still love to visit Westmore whenever I have a free day to enjoy the nice weather. And now Henry will introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Henry Millward. I've lived in West Hartford for almost 10 years with my wife and 2 children. We've made so many great memories here, but tonight I want to share with you a not so great moment. There was an ice storm in October of 2011 that knocked power out in some parts of the town for over a week. I'm sure many of you have your own memories of that storm. For me, it was particularly scary because my son Stefan had just been born. He was so small and fragile, I was worried the whole time I couldn't keep him safe. I remember the afternoon the power went out, and later that evening, all of us piling into the same bed to stay warm at bedtime. I couldn't sleep though. All night through the windows, I watched power lines fall and a branch catch on fire dangerously near my house. We made it through the night though, and in the morning we decided that we had to get somewhere safer. We packed everybody in the car and started to wind our way around power lines, branches, closed roads onto the highway. We had half a tank of gas, a half-charged cell phone, and nowhere to go. We started calling everyone we knew. Nobody had power. Eventually, we found some friends down in Stamford that had heat, light, and a spare bedroom. The 4 of us spent 10 days in that bedroom. It was not easy, but we were lucky to have shelter. There is a silver lining to this story, though, because when we came back to West Hartford and started cleaning the debris out of our yard, talking to neighbors, chainsawing large limbs and sticking them out on the curb for collection, we were able to say to each other things like, "This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this before, and I can't wait for things to get back to normal." The storm was terrible, truly terrible, but it was an outlier. None of us had ever lost power for more than a day.
Thanks, Henry. So, you might all be wondering how all of our stories relate to climate change and the resolution you have before you tonight. Well, if we aren't able to control the rapidly changing climate, the end of Henry's story changes. After a catastrophe like the ice storm from October 2011, instead of relief, we'll be feeling anxious and already anticipating the next storm to wipe out our power, the next summer day ruined by a heat wave, or the next drought browning all of our beautiful parks. If left unchecked, climate change is sure to increase the intensity and frequency of extreme weather. And those experiences will start to be the ones that characterize living here in West Hartford.
To rise to this challenge, the resolution asks the town to do 4 main things. 1, to join the growing number of towns and cities recognizing climate change as an emergency. Number 2 is to create a climate commission that has voting youth representation from Conard and Hall High School. Number 3 is to pass and implement a 100% clean energy plan, such as the one the commission has previously authored. And number 4 is to endorse a carbon pricing as an indispensable tool in the fight against climate change.
Climate change is the great challenge our generation will face, but it is also an opportunity, as all crises are. If we work together at the other side of 30 years, we will emerge with a virtually unlimited supply of energy to power our daily lives and our grand ambitions. We will have created whole new industries and jobs. We will have gained a level of international cooperation and goodwill that we can use to tackle any other global challenges, bringing us into the future. But most of all, for those of us living in the great town of West Hartford, it is a chance to maintain the special memories and defining experiences of living here. Evan's jogs at the park, Arlo's autumns, Karina's trips to Westmore, and my special nights at Elizabeth Park.
We thank you for the chance to speak here today. We hope we have put a resolution in front of you worth endorsing, and we will now welcome any questions you might have regarding it. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you very much. If nothing else, you've succeeded in making a grown man cry. So that was very, very moving. And many of the you've had, my children have had, and I've had as well. So I appreciate you recalling them, so we have them in the front of our thoughts.
I agree with Bernie. That was very powerful presentation, and I think we had Julia Farber comment the same thing in the chat. Very powerful. Great job presenting. So thank you all. I think that was wonderful. I can imagine that if you were standing up in front of the town councilors, that they would be moved as well.
And the hope is that they will have a foretaste of that eventuality by virtue of being able to see this recording of this meeting. So it won't be a surprise to them. So they'll have their handkerchiefs and tissues by their side.
Well, we don't we hadn't intended to make anybody cry, but we just I read a quote by E.B. White that was saying that, you know, to work up the energy to save something, you need to savor it first, and it was important for us to remember all the things that we savor about living here to want to save that.
Well, I know that when we talked about the plastic bag ban and when we first talked about this resolution, some of the advice that the commission and I gave was to put it in the West Hartford context, and your stories there really do that. I think that is what is really going to hit home with the town councilors as well, because obviously they care very much about West Hartford as public servants, as an residents as well. I think that's key. Christine Feely is also saying from the chat that she agrees, very good presentation, so much to like in West Hartford.
I do have one apology to make. I didn't realize when I sent out the resolution to all the commissioners, there are some notes at the bottom from language that we had considered including into the resolution that I forgot to take out before sending. So you can just, everything from notes on down, you can just disregard. It's all, you know, it ends with we therefore resolve passage. So sorry about that.
Well, what I would like to do, because I don't think we need to go through the whereases.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to just sort of recap the be it now, therefore resolved. So we want to join New Haven, New Britain, Bridgeport, and Middletown, who have already passed something like this, not necessarily this exact same document, but something along these lines.
Yeah, a climate emergency resolution, but you know, the actual resolution can vary town to town.
Right, and I'm aware that I have a counterpart out in Mansfield, and they are taking this up. I have a counterpart in we have a counterpart, I should say, in Simsbury. I believe it's also being taken up there. So I suspect that lift that you have in your resolution will grow. So be it further, and anybody can interrupt me, please do. Be it further resolved, the town of West Hartford rises to the challenge of creating upward political pressure. So we are 64,000 people in the scheme of the roughly 7 billion people of the world. It can be argued we won't make a difference, but we are West Hartford. We have a voice, and we can influence those above us, both at the state and federal and global level. And that's what you're calling upon us to do if we say yes to this. Be it further resolved, we will form a town climate change commission. And
Ernie, could I ask that maybe you put it on the screen now so that we could
we can
see
do
it?
that, yes. And please tell me if I got the right thing or not. Did I get that? What do you see? Do you see the right?
Yes.
Do you see? Okay. So you see the resolution. Unfortunately, now it's covered by the WebEx for me, but you can see it clearly.
Oh, so you can't read it.
No, I can. It just take me a little while to read it in a little bit below this. Let's see if I can grid view. I can read it. So we'll form a town climate change commission, either by adding a new commission or repurposing an existing commission. I would recommend that. I might quibble with the name if we come up with a sustainability commission and put climate change under that. I think we would be fulfilling the spirit of this recommendation. And I believe that's what's happening. I think, as we'll talk about later in this meeting, there is a sustainability task force that is being created with an immediate charge, and then something like this, I think, would fit into its subsequent charge.
Yeah, that's very much how we feel. I know that's a task force, so we would hope that, given the amount of time that we have to be dedicated to working on climate change, that if the sustainability task force goes on, it becomes a commission, and it could very well fulfill this this resolution for us, either a sustainability commission or a climate change commission, but something that has a duration instead of I've been told, I'm new to all this, but I've been told that the task force is a more temporary body.
It is. The advisory group that is being formed is expected to be tasked for about 10 to 12 months, and then would decide whether what would happen after that. Yeah, another decision would be made. And maybe I probably should have said this right in the beginning. So before we get too far into this discussion, I don't know whether Bernie mentioned to you, but Bernie actually forwarded your resolution to the town manager and said that it was on our agenda tonight. And the town manager and I actually had a conversation about it today. So, and it was very positive and supportive, actually. So what I'll just say to put this in context is the town manager, obviously the town manager cannot speak for the town council, but the town manager is very supportive of this. He said he did not take issue with anything in this. And we also had a conversation about whether we thought the town was ready for a climate emergency resolution, because as you know, the Clean Energy Commission itself broached this subject a couple of years ago, and we kind of got the impression that the town was not ready for a climate emergency resolution, and at that time 2 years ago would have preferred something more directed at a commitment to clean energy. I think the town manager is under the impression that the town of West Hartford is willing to consider a climate emergency resolution now. So I think that's a huge step forward, and I think that's wonderful in terms of the fact that we have one ready to go, and thank you for your hard work. So that being said, I think the way he would envision this adoption working, he was not 100% certain whether you as an outside entity could bring it to the town council or a subcommittee without a petition process. So the preferred approach, and I think we discussed this before, is for you and the commission our commission, the Clean Energy Commission, to work together to get this to a point where we're both comfortable, and under the umbrella of the commission, this could be introduced directly to the town council. So,
So Catherine, just to clarify for me, because this is
Yep.
all new. So the
and
petition
it's
process.
me. I just had this conversation today, so I'm excited to share it.
It's wonderful news. It really is. Are we gathering signatures for a petition, or is the endorsement of the Clean Energy Commission enough to bring it before the council?
Enough. Yeah.
Okay.
So if the commission, if us as two groups, your group and the commission,
Uh-huh.
and the commission votes, you know, if we can get this, if we're in agreement that we want to work together and get this to a point, it can be introduced directly. If you guys introduce it on your own, you might have to go through that petition process. We'll have to check with the town clerk, but I think that's the way it goes.
Oh, I see. I understand now. Well, you know, I felt like we've worked together. You know, you guys have been so helpful to us through the whole process. We would definitely enjoy working together and, you know, making it something that both of our groups are proud of and ready to put forward to the town council.
So, and the final thing I wanted to say about the town manager's comments is, I think he would like a little bit more work on the be it resolves.
Okay.
And some of his main concerns are what Bernie was voicing before, this idea of a climate change commission, and how does that fit with the new sustainability advisory group that's being formed, the tasks that they have, the fact that they're a temporary commission. So he doesn't want to start creating new entities. I think he needs a little more clarity on where this fits. So I think, and this was not a long conversation, but I think that was the gist. Generally supportive, could be introduced together directly to the town council via the Clean Energy Commission, as long as we are both in agreement what it looks like. And then, you know, just revising and really kind of dialing in, maybe again with some input from him on what those whereases, what those further be it resolves are really saying, and how they fit with the other initiatives the town has on currently.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Catherine, thank you. I knew some of that, but I certainly did not know all of that.
Yeah, I didn't know about this phone call I was having today, so that's good news.
Let me, I hear what you're saying. We want to get a few more clarifications from the town manager, but I just want to go through the rest of the resolves as written. Representation with voting privileges from folks from Hall and Conard, and that's good. And the primary task is to persuade other Connecticut towns and cities to pass climate emergency resolutions and to influence state legislators and the governor to pass substantive climate legislation. And the secondary priority is to set goals and catalyze action to reduce West Hartford's carbon footprint. And be it further resolved, the town of West Hartford adopts and implements a plan to power our community with 100% clean energy by 2050 or earlier. And hopefully our plan will fit that bill. And then the town of West Hartford supports the development of carbon pricing legislation, such as carbon fee and dividend. And then be it further resolved, we call on the state of Connecticut, the United States Congress, the President of the United States, and all governments and the people of the world to declare a climate emergency. So I think that's really just the manifestation of our attempt to push this up. So, given what Catherine said, I think maybe we want to tweak the words. But let me go around the room with the commissioners and see if anybody wants to make any other comments. And I'll call on Dave Mello. Any concerns, observations, anything you want to say specifically in addition to what's been said?
No, I'll reserve that for later. Thank you, but I'm satisfied with what I've heard this evening.
Joe Campanella?
No, it looks great to me.
Chris Nelson?
Same, no additional comments. It looks good.
James Capella?
Yeah, no comments here. I like it. I really do.
And Max?
I'm on board. It's good stuff.
Okay, I think you have a good sense of the commission. I guess we won't vote on it until we get the final words, but I think we can do that quickly. And
I have a question about the need to call out the primary and secondary priorities.
Karina, do you want to take this one? Oh, maybe I lost Karina. Let me see. I know some of us had to run. I'll go ahead and take it. One of the things, or Arlo, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thanks.
One of the things that we wanted to do with the commission that would be created is we wanted to have it do a main thing, and that main thing we decided would be to persuade upper political pressure, because obviously, as was previously stated, as a single town, we do not have very much of an impact on our own. So that's the thing that we want to prioritize over anything else. And then the secondary part of it would be what's listed in that be it further resolved. And that would be a second priority if time allowed for it and if there were the ability to do that.
Yeah, Arlo said it great. And kind of one way I think of it is like you're trying to walk a balance between maximum impact, which is the upward and outward kind of political pressure, but you also have to maintain credibility. And if you're just telling people all the time to do stuff about climate, but you're not doing anything on your own, you start to lose credibility. So you have to work on two, we have to work on two levels. Sometimes, I know when I started working on climate change, the first thing I thought of, is my locus of control. And, I started doing the individual actions that would help climate. And I got kind of stuck on those for a while until I realized that I actually could do a lot more if I started getting involved and started talking to state representatives and putting some upward political pressure in addition to doing the things that, I was already doing.
So I see in the chat that Julia Farber is saying, in some ways, as we listen to your thought process, it might be that you want to flip them. In other words, we would take an active stance in our own town that would give us the credibility that we are walking the walk, and then that would give us the credibility to go out and see if we can't get other people to do what we're doing. Or arguably, we might just say something that we will set goals and catalyze actions in West Hartford, and with the object of giving us credibility to persuade other parties. So we might actually just take your comment, instead of dividing it in two, we might actually make it be, I think we just temporarily lost Henry.
Yeah, to add on to what Henry and Arlo were saying, I think part of what our team was thinking when we decided to order the priorities like this was that, we know that West Hartford is working very hard on establishing environmental policies within our own town, such as the solar panels on the buildings, what the work that this commission is doing and such. But we were thinking that, as you said, West Hartford, what we do in our own town isn't going to have the greatest impact on, the whole world, and it's a global climate crisis. So we were thinking that if one of our main priorities was to put this upward political pressure on, the whole state, the whole nation, that create a greater change than maybe the policies that we implement in our own town can, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does.
It does. And I didn't mean to belabor this. It was just a question, and I just raise it as something that town councilors might look at, especially if we are asking a West Hartford commission to be responsible for this. Most West Hartford commissions are focused on what happens in our community. I might just support the idea of pulling the words primary and secondary and just saying, the commission will do this and the commission will do this, give them equal weight, not a priority one over the other. I think they're both very important, but I don't necessarily, I think ordering them could just raise some questions like we raised today, and it might just smooth things over to take out primary and secondary. Unless people feel strongly.
If it's okay, what I'd like to do is open it up. It's 7:38, so given that I think we the commission have come to some rough resolution subject to some truing up, I'd like to get some public comment. So folks that are on the line, you can either ask a question in chat or unmute yourself, identify yourself, and ask a question directly. Your choice. Hey. Stephen, you.
Yes, Bernie.
Is that Phil?
Oh, yes. Hi. How's it going? Anyone who's spoken with me for about 5 minutes would probably know that I would be concerned about the 2050 year number. And it's worth noting, as many of the people here are aware, that California has set a 2035 a line to ban the sale of combustion vehicles at that time. Massachusetts was able to follow in kind, and certainly the decision by Ford Motor Company to also decide to no longer sell combustion vehicles after 2035 is certainly related. So it's remarkable, what it takes to set a precedent. And so that it would almost seem foolish to have a 2050 after the 2035. 15 years later, I think we can do better than that. And that's my very strong opinion on that. And dare I say further that many of us are also aware that Norway has already decided that by 2025, they will no longer have combustion vehicles. And of course, 2035 is not remarkable, being 10 years later than that. So we are actually in a climate emergency, whether or not we make a statement or not. We can be forward-looking early adopters of the measures and offer, the levels of leadership and early foresight on this. And that's my initial comment on the matter.
Thank you, Mr. Herter. And Stephen Sack, I know you wanted to make a comment.
Yes, Bernie. Two things here. I'm not so in favor of the carbon taxing with this. I really suggest that maybe we leave that part out of this, that the town is not, speaking for the whole town, trying to push another tax onto everybody. The TCI tax, that's kind of the state's trying to push some stuff statewide. Is some people are in favor, a lot are not. On that aspect, I just think we should stay out of in a resolution like this, leaving a tax off the table. And then my other question is just trying to fully understand this group. Is this group more trying to work with us and push it on a state political part versus just working locally in town like our group seems to do?
I would say that we're a little bit of both. Most of us are part of CCL, and we have been working with the Rocky Hill groups. So we are also working on a state level, but at the same time, we know it would be most beneficial to focus our energy right now on West Hartford. So I guess what I'm trying to say is right now we want to work with you guys for West Hartford, but eventually I do think we're planning to go more on a state level.
And CCL stands for?
Citizens Climate
Lobby.
Thank you. Giving him that context. Stephen, I would have to agree with you that where be it resolved about the climate, the tax stood out to me as well. So I don't know if any other commissioners have input on that. That would be one that I would scrutinize a little bit further as well. Just putting my town councilor hat on, that would be one that stood out to me. But Chris, Max, any comments?
Now that this is, I know that now that I know that you're part of Citizens Climate Lobby, it's carbon fee and dividend is a specific. We should probably identify the proposal more directly because that's a well-formed proposal. I think it's a perennial bill at the federal level, so we could actually. Right now, it's very, very generic as you've written it. But are you actually this is actually the carbon fee and dividend program that CCL has been pushing? Yeah.
Well, Bernie, I don't know. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We decided to keep it general because CCL is at the position where we're going for carbon pricing. Of course, we have our own bill, in Congress that we would ideally like to see, but we're open to supporting any kind of bill that, does an adequate job pricing carbon. And just so there's no confusion, we're not like an endorsement of carbon pricing wouldn't be advocating for West Hartford to put a price on carbon. A carbon price doesn't really work on a local, such a local level like this. It's just more as a, national, international type of solution. We support that methodology. Not that we're open to changing it, but I just didn't want it to be shot down because people were thinking that it would happen on, just West Hartford would do it.
And I think Mr. Stack has done a service because I think he foreshadows potential other people will be of like mind. I would also point out that carbon-based fuels like natural gas, like fossil oil, would definitely get a tax, I believe, at the wholesale level. I think some of the alternatives that various of us have been working on, such as biofuels, would not be subject to that tax. So I just as I understand it, I think it does require some more investigation.
I mean, the way this is written is super general anyway. This is not, it doesn't say the town's can have a carbon tax or Connecticut have a carbon tax. It's carbon pricing is a vast universe. A low carbon fuel standard is a form of carbon pricing. So the way this is written now seems fairly innocuous, that it's in support of pricing carbon, but not pushing a specific mode.
So my concern is that a lot of other things in your resolution are no-brainers, no argument. Once, if you start to put things in there that people, counselors might not understand and need additional education about, it might slow the process down.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, our priority is the climate emergency resolution. And so if the carbon pricing, be it therefore resolved, is a deal breaker, or just one that's just going to be a lightning rod for objection, we are flexible and working on it with you guys. I mean, we'd like to see it in there ideally, but.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I want it out, but I'm saying that, I'm saying to the commissioners on this commission too, if the final joint version includes that, then our commission needs to be able to educate and support that be resolved with the commission.
I'm a little, I'm still a little confused now, even more that, is this a commission of West Hartford residents, or is this a CCL driven commission?
The commission that they're designating would be a West Hartford Border Commission, just like the Clean Energy Commission.
Yeah, that's what we intended it. It's a town commission. And the membership of which is not set to necessarily include us if the town doesn't want to include, we would of course be willing to serve on such a commission. But we're not, in no way part of the deal. The town can choose whoever they want, whether it's a CCL member or just anybody concerned with climate or.
So can I suggest that what we do is we maybe have a conversation with the town manager and bring this next month for a vote to this commission.
Bernie, you and Catherine mentioned wanting to, edit it together and find something that works for all of us. Is that going to happen between those two meetings, or are you talking about voting on it as is in a month?
I think what we would do is run it. So take into account what we've heard tonight. I think we heard, pressure on the 2050. I think we heard concern about the tax. I think some of the whereases we might want to clarify. I think we heard that we want to more clearly articulate how the newly created sustainability task force will intersect with this. Things what I would call clarification of this relative to where the town is now, and bring back a revised resolution, which I would say the current authors would see before we voted on it, well before we voted on it.
Okay, so you guys are kind of work and tweak it out, and then kind of show it to us before you guys vote on it, or that's the idea?
I guess I should have framed that as an idea or a motion. So, Catherine, or any other commissioners, you have a thought on what I said?
I have one comment. Keep in mind, it doesn't need to be perfect when we submit it to Matt and town council, to town council, because I guarantee you there will be changes afterwards. There always are.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other comment is, Henry, and I know you mentioned this, that there are a lot of footnotes on your resolution. And you don't usually see those on resolutions. I don't know. I don't know. That's something I will ask about.
Yeah, we can take them out. The thing we were trying to avoid when we were writing this is some of the other models that we had. They did a lot of sourcing, and it took a long time to figure out what the whereas was actually about to kind of get to the meat of it. So we, put some of the sourcing in the footnotes to kind of make the whereas more readable. But if that's not the style of typical town documents, we can go back to putting them in, or if the sourcing is not important, we can leave them out too.
Yeah. And it might be that as we submit this to the town council, we also have kind of some questions that go along with it, such as that, do you want the references in the text or out,
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll just voice my own personal opinion that Henry, I really, sometimes you see a set of words, they're beautifully written, and you wonder what they're saying. So to the extent that this extra documentation, maybe it's appended as footnotes or as an appendix or something like that, but to make it more readable and make sure that people understand what the intent was. I think that's all that I like that. Okay.
Wonderful.
So I'll make a motion that we take this under advisement. We make some tweaks. Catherine, if we can talk to the town manager one more time. I hear you that we won't make it perfect, that it will, once we bless it, so to speak, it will still get changed once it approaches the town council. But to the extent that we can sort of free that process up, I suggest we take one more month to before we.
One question about 1 more month puts us in April. You mentioned that the town manager said he was willing to take up energy plan in May or June. Does it make sense to package this with the energy plan and have be resolved that they adopt the energy plan at the same time?
That makes sense to me. Yeah, and I think the May or June, the distinction between those 2 months is how much progress they make on the budget, which I think has taken precedence over. They have to get that done. But I would be in favor of kind of bundling them, or at least have them on the same town council session.
How does CCL feel about that?
Well, that's great for us. We would love to see the clean energy plan pass, and if it can just be part and parcel together, I think that's just even a stronger resolution.
How do the commissioners feel about that?
I think that sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
I would put them on the same agenda. It's a little bit like trying to take a Christmas tree through a narrow gate. If one or the other of them gets stuck, I wouldn't want them both to get stuck.
Yeah. Good point.
But they're both definitely in the same topic, and I think they belong on the same agenda.
Catherine and Bernie, I did put, if we're still open to public comment on this, it's kind of related to that, a question in the chat that, I remember at some point in the jurisdiction of the Sustainability Advisory Group, there's a question about doing a gap analysis, and one of them might be that we need a climate change commission. So is this actually like jumping ahead of that? Would this remove that from that group? What do you guys think about that, and how are those things related?
I think that's the exact concern that Matt Hart raised about the timing and whether we're creating a new commission or where that climate change responsibility lies, in terms of what existing board or commission or new board or commission or the advisory group is going to be responsible for it. So I think that that's one of the open questions.
Okay, so Julia, it sounds like that will be brought up when we get a hold of the town manager. And okay. So on behalf of the commission, let me thank all the students. Thank you, Henry, for bringing this up. I think it's timely. I know in my case, I was opposed to this or reluctant to adopt it 2 years ago, and you have swung me around to where many of you have been for a long time.
Thank you so much to you, Bernie, and all the commissioners for giving us so much time in the meetings. I know we've been kind of a pain in the butt, but I appreciate you indulging us.
I think it's important stuff.
Yeah, I think on behalf of all of us, we really appreciate you giving us this time to speak here tonight.
No, thank you. I think you're doing a service. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which I think we can hopefully go through quickly. Even though our plan is not approved by the town council, we've adopted it, and it has near-term actions. So standing agenda item, we recognize if we're going to influence our community, we have to communicate with our community. Community Communication Network. Anything there? I think, Joe, I think you were going to reach out to Renee.
I didn't.
And I know you had some issues going on, so that's still pending.
Yeah, I apologize for that, but I will be working towards that and trying to reach her and have a conversation.
That's good. And actually, I apologize. You had already told me that. So. Any other progress on Communication Network?
We did have an uptick in the number of people who are part of Sustainable West Hartford Facebook group. I think we went from about 240 and now I think we're at about 280 with 40 people joined.
Yeah, there's a question of how many of them are actually from West Hartford, and I think we just need to make sure that we're not. There are people on Facebook who just join groups for the sake of joining groups and posting strange messages. So we have to make sure that if anyone's like that on our list, we'll have to bump them off. But
yeah, I think that's a good comment, Chris. I'll just say that not being a particularly great Facebooker myself, I did discover there is a plus sign up there on the Facebook page, and you can invite people to invite people. So which I know I did right after our last meeting, and so I know at least a few of those came through that, and I think we can probably every month or so say, hey, if you've joined new, please invite other West Hartford residents who you think are interested in this topic to join. So we hopefully we can make a little bit of organic growth that way. And one question, and I don't know the answer to this, I don't know if you do, is would it make sense, can we buy, what do you call it, boosting? Facebook boosting? Can you do that to promote a group? In other words, I think for like $20 you can reach all adult West Hartford residents or something like that. Is that where
I don't know about that. Okay. So like they put an ad on West Hartford people's pages, or what happened?
I believe, I think they do. I think they kind of say, guess what? Sustainable West Hartford is for you.
So Julia is correct. That does cost money. If you wanted to do that, it's through a digital marketing. And Julia sounds like probably could speak more to it, but I do know that people buy. You have to buy that.
Okay, and as Julia is saying, it would cost more than $20, but
yeah.
Julia or James, any?
Yeah, Bernie, you could certainly do. I mean, that is that's a marketing campaign. You would have to invest in it. You can definitely start with $20 and tell Facebook, I only have $20. That's what I want to spend. And what you do is the more you zoom in, the more they'll be able to tell you exactly how many people they have that fits that particular niche. And the problem with it is that if you have $20 and you have a very small audience, believe it or not, they don't necessarily hit everybody. They only hit 1 out of every 20. So for to do it and hit everybody, you'd actually have you wouldn't need a huge budget to do it, but you would need probably more like $100 or $250. And then Catherine, if you're on Facebook, it shows up as an ad on the side where you would create like an ad with some text and a little photo. It says consider joining this group or whatever, and it is definitely how you get more eyeballs and how you spread the word. But it does take a little bit of a budget, and again, not a huge one. Maybe $250 would be good enough to start, but you do it it's time bound. So you'd say spend this amount of money in a week, spend this amount of money in a month. They will then parse it out. It would be $40 a week, $40 the next week, and you'd have to be patient because the population is very small. So they'd have to be signed on, and they'll disperse it. So I hope that's helpful.
No, Julia, it's very, very helpful, and it's okay with you. I'll follow up with you directly. And anybody else who wants to be, okay. Any other? So we have made a little bit of progress. Clean energy webpage. I'm going to guess we haven't made any headway, right?
No, Joe did forward the resume of a college student that he thought had a very good public relations background. Joe, I have not done anything with that. Maybe I'll talk to you offline about that. The town is not opposed to hiring interns. And that might be a good project to work on. I know that our web page is sorely out of date, and I'm still struggling to find the exact place that this information fits in their new website organization, and especially in light of the new sustainability advisory group coming online, and also wanting to highlight the work that we're doing under the Sustainable Connecticut
program. Okay, so you'll follow with Joe on the subject of an intern.
Yeah, to be more specific, it's really energy and communications. And I think he's getting close to finding a job, so he might not even be available. But, I would continue to think about it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we had an intern 2 years ago, who I feel moved the ball substantially. So if we can get one and make use of them, I think it would be good. I think we have a lot for a person to do. Youth representation. I think we had a question whether they would be voting or not, and I think Catherine, you were going to look at what the school system is doing with their youth representatives. Any progress on that?
No, sorry.
Honesty is the best policy.
And that's an easy one. I apologize. I just, I dropped the ball. I had a lot on my plate.
That's okay. That's why we are why we have this on here every time. Heat pump and efficiency education campaign, Bernie and Joe. I have done nothing, but we have had a discussion with our assistant town council, I guess, Gina Barana, and I think we have a way forward on that. So I think we can make a proposal, I want to say, at the next meeting. I would also say energy outreach to low middle income based on work I'm doing in another town. I'll just make two quick comments. First, one of the big priorities of the state this year is equity and environmental justice, focused on low middle income people. So in terms of doing what our state wants us to do, this is the point. And I would also say, as I come to understand the Energize Connecticut, I'll call it benefits or incentives for low middle income. For example, the HES audits are going to continue to be free for those folks, even as they increase to $50 starting on April 1st for everyone else. I think we have the opportunity to really do something there. Those benefits are good, and I think there's a great need for them, and I think we could make a difference in our town if we could find a way to connect with that community. Outreach for CR Club Ready for 100. I don't know if Chris Feely, are you still, you're still on? I think Samantha Dynowski may have turned that over to you to push.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to coordinate that now.
Great. And I think some of us will be happy to work with you on that. James, I don't know if we're going to need an EV car event the way that we've got Volvo and Ford and Volkswagen and General Motors. I'm just kidding, but
I know you are. Yeah, no, my update, I do apologize. I haven't yet. I still have taken all the notes from the last meeting with those ideas, and I do want to put something together. So I have a note to myself to get this for our next meeting, give you an update as to what it'll be like.
Great. Public transit champions. Probably, Catherine, no progress on that, I don't think.
I did talk to someone about how we didn't do anything with CT rides. Who did I talk to about that? I don't remember. It was someone. I've been laying the groundwork with leadership that we don't focus on mass transit enough, and I forget who I had, who I was talking to, but that's kind of where I am right now, kind of pointing out that we don't seem to be working in that area, and that maybe that's one of the areas that will come out as a weakness as we go through the Sustainable Connecticut application process. And it's an area that the Sustainability Advisory Group might make some recommendations about.
Correct. I'll just make the obvious COVID reference that one, driving has dropped down. I think it's coming back, and that public transit also was not that desirable in the middle of the COVID pandemic either. So we are at a very odd time to know even what direction to go in. So I think we can let the dust settle a little bit there. And community engagement with sustainable CT and explore the sustainability plan. I think that's part and parcel of the creation of the Sustainability Task Force, and I'll combine those in the future, but I think we're moving ahead on that front. On the creation of the Sustainability Task Force, I think we were recruiting 20 people, and I
so it is, yep, The recruitment period is supposed to end on the 31st of March. We have had quite a lot of interest so far. And I think, I'm not sure whether there are, I'm not sure how many have come in. Essie Lebreau has been collecting all the letters of interest that have come in. She did share the first dozen or so with me. And I do have to say that they're not as diverse as we would have hoped. And I know that Julia Farber, who's on this call, did a lot of work, personal work herself, printing flyers and distributing them to different corners of the town, posting them on different community boards and trying to cover all areas of town. So thank you very much, Julia. We sent a lot of emails out, networking, you know, steps beyond to try and reach organizations in town that were doing different things. Renee at the town as well. But most of the letters of interest that came in are from white professionals. So I have a conversation with Matt Hart, the town manager, tomorrow, and this is one of the subjects that we're going to be discussing.
Could I add, I reached out to what's called WASCO, West Hartford African American Social and Cultural Organization. And I became aware of them. I think Tammy Exum, who's our representative, is connected to that group. And I'm encouraging them to join, and they've responded to their thinking about it. So I don't know if we can keep the window open a little bit longer, but I would hold them out as a potential anyway.
Yeah, they've been contacted. I think through the town managers, they contacted them as well. Renee has contacted some people. Matt Hart has contacted some people directly as well. So we'll go over it tomorrow and see where we lie. I don't know what his plan of action will be. He's ultimately the person who appoints these people, and we'll decide. I guess we'll have to just have a discussion about whether we can start small and grow, and what's the timeline for starting up that group's activities.
Right. I'll just make an observation that if it's difficult, if indeed we've gotten no one or very few, it's not for lack of trying. Doesn't mean we should not keep trying and try harder and try different ways. I think it's an indication of the fact that we don't have all the connections that we need to say that we truly represent the community. So I'm basically saying I think we've given it a good try, and it's telling us something if we haven't.
Bernie, can I just make an observation?
Yes, you can.
Is it possible for me to interject as a public speaker?
You can speak to the public, yes.
I don't know if this commission has jurisdiction over this fully, so I'm not sure if it's the right place or time to bring it up, but the observation about diversity on the particular commission, when I was going around trying to advertise physically with posters, there's inherent limitations to the structure, right? You have to be a person who has access to internet. You have to be a person who has access to email, even though we tried to design it in a way that you could write a letter and apply if you didn't have internet access. The reality is that's probably not something somebody's going to do. And the other thing is that if you're a person of a particular socioeconomic status, independent of your background, you're far less likely to want to participate in something that couldn't pay you. So there was a question about, if we're taking this sort of thing seriously, is there an opportunity to create some sort of a blind grant program or a way to compensate people who really need every hour to be dedicated to earning, frankly, that there is a luxury associated or a dire necessity associated when people show up at these kinds of public meetings and take time out of their schedule to have these kinds of conversations. So when it comes to equity and thinking about bringing different people to the table, that's something we have to consider. And I don't know, again, if this commission has the power or a budget to even consider how that could help make things a little bit more equitable, but just thought I would bring it up as an observation.
Well, I don't think we have a budget, so I don't think we have the money, and I don't know what our power is, but I think your point is well taken. Things like babysitting, things like food, like time of day. I can add to the list that you put out there. I don't know how to solve it, but we start by identifying the issue and see what we can do about it.
So, Julia, I know you voiced that concern to me, and I had it myself as well. I know that there are cities and towns out there who do pay members. Providence, Rhode Island is one, Rochester, Minnesota is one, and they have very active and very diverse sustainability groups. I don't know what their payment model is. So I did bring that concern. It is on my question list for my conversation tomorrow or Thursday. I'm having a meeting with Matt about the letters that have come in so far. So it is on my agenda for that meeting. I also did pose that question to S.E. Lebreau. Do any commissioners get paid, or has any commissioners requested compensation or been paid in the past? And her response back was no. No board or members in West Hartford have ever been compensated. It doesn't mean it can't happen, I guess, but so far that has not been something the town has ever done.
Okay. One thing I skipped over, I think when we were talking about outreach communication network, I did reach out to Jen Evans, who's taping this meeting, and we have a half-hour meeting scheduled with her tomorrow. I think Joe Campanella said he can be there. Any of the other commissioners who would like to be there, you're welcome. Just to explore the idea of some sort of periodic show, I threw out, half in jest, but it's more serious, I think, than in jest, the idea of this old West Hartford house, where I think we can find stories of people who are insulating, who are improving their thermal barriers, their heating system, that sort of stuff. So that may be an avenue of outreach. Is Steve Sack still on? One question, we don't have it on the agenda, but under the heading of diversity, we're in search of a Republican, of which Stephen, you are one. Had you heard anything from any of the folks that you've been talking to in terms of your approval to join this commission?
I have heard nothing. I sent in my resume, which was fairly small since I left college and went to work in the family business. That was it for the last 30 plus years. I sent it in and I haven't heard anything. I don't know if there's something I'm supposed to do or not. Let me know.
All right. Stephen, what I'll do is, I think things are gummed up. I think between COVID and the budget, I think things are moving slow through the powers that be. So I'll follow up with Matt Hart and just see. And who is it's Mr. Gold, right? Is the Republican leader?
Yeah, I sent it to him.
All right, I'll follow up with those two folks and see where we are.
Do you want a copy of my resume also? I don't know if I may have sent it to you also with him on the email list or on the email.
I don't feel like I need it. But if you want to send it to me, I'd be happy to include it in any correspondence.
Okay.
Okay, 8:21. We're just new business. We have a couple. Before I go on, have I overlooked anything? Anybody have a comment before we go forward? Okay, new business. We have a Sierra Club CT Energy Network PACE meeting. It's called Your Town, Our Planet. Municipal leadership path to 100% renewable energy. Mayor Cantor is going to speak, if hopefully by video at least, and Catherine is presenting along with representatives from Fairfield, Brantford, and Hartford. So if you would want to register there, there's no cost to it. It's 6:30 to 8 o'clock next Tuesday, March 30th at 6:30. So you're invited. Julia Farber has been working her heart out on a NESB presentation, The Power of Place. That's actually starting tomorrow, the 25th and 26th. It's a day and a half event. Architects, business advocates, all sorts of folks that we would be interested in intersecting with. Mainly Northeast, but from probably around the country. So registration, you can go right to NESB/registration. They would like a donation. They've done an awful lot of work and deserve a donation, but I think there is a free track as well. So if you have time, I recommend that you sign up for that. I think so far they have maybe 300 folks signed up. I think they have some novel approaches to mingling in the virtual world. I don't fully understand it, but somehow to meet and greet people online. And I don't think it's a dating service. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Just to let folks know that the EEB is the Energize Connecticut. The time of free HES audits is coming to an end on April 1st, and that's no April Fool's joke. It's going to be $50 from what I understand, but HES income eligible remains free. And like I said before, I think we should push both, and that will be part of this campaign.
So Bernie, if you sign up, April 1st is in 6 days. So does it have to be done by April 1st, or do you have to have scheduled by April 1st?
You get scheduled by April 1st, I think. What I understand that you are in, and you should get in under the wire or before the wire.
Okay, so I'll put a note on Sustainable West Hartford, and maybe I can get Renee to send a note to the town listserv.
Okay.
That's always, people like deadlines, right?
Absolutely. And if I can think of it, I'll double check myself on Energize CT, but that's what I hear. Catherine, we'll get into the staff report. I mean, I think you were working on a battery electric vehicle grant proposal with the town fleet, and then any other staff reporting you want to give us.
Well, so most of my time recently has been on sustainability stuff, which I've already been talking about. The grant I wrote for the town's first 2 electric vehicles did pass the first round at CROG. So that's good news, which means it moves on to the second round of competition at the Connecticut DOT level. We're only asking for about $72,000 to purchase 2 Chevy Volts and install another charging station at Town Hall for them. So I'll keep you posted. It'd be nice to have, and we're going to paint them cool colors and let them drive around. They're for the building inspectors.
How many, so you've
Smile,
got.
I've seen her Max. Max smiled.
You have 1 wicket you got through. How many wickets are there to get through?
That's it. Just the first, the CROG level, and then the Connecticut DOT is whether you got funded or not. So
Okay.
I think we should hear in April sometime.
Very good. Okay. Okay. Any, I guess we're through the staff report. Any public comment beyond what's already been given? Daniel?
I have one other staff item. I don't know whether I mentioned this last time. I am working with Matt Hart as well in May. The town will be hosting a community resilience building workshop. This is a kind of big planning exercise with a well-developed model run by the Nature Conservancy. And it's through the Sustainable Connecticut program. So that's another reason a lot of my time's been focused on that.
Not to slow us down, but I think that is so important. I mean, we can look at Texas and say that'll never happen here, but of course it has happened here. And we can look at COVID and say that'll never happen here, but it's happening, I think, for the third or fourth wave. So I think we have no choice but to become more resilient. So I think that's really important. Daniel Becerra is still on. I'll coax a little public comment. I understand that you're rehabbing your house and trying to become more energy efficient.
I am, and I didn't know about that deadline, so I'll have to make sure that I get an appointment set up. That's been on my list. Just in general, it's been great to hear about all the work going on here, and hope to be able to be involved and support some of this work in the future. So thanks.
Well, one of the things is when you speak up, of course, we can ask you to do something. So if indeed you get a home energy solutions audit, and it's only $50 if you miss the deadline, I think. Some things to think about, depending on how we make out with West Hartford TV, is we might want to, for example, film some of what's been done to your house in the home energy solutions audit. Or if you end up with insulation, or if you end up upgrading your boiler, or whatever work you do, please keep in mind the idea that would this be something that the other households in West Hartford would benefit from seeing. And so by putting it on West Hartford TV, we could put it between.
We did that with Joe's house ages ago.
That's right. And I think we did it with the former mayor's house too. So anything that makes this stuff more approachable for our residents. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I can definitely try to do that.
And of course you can say no. I'm not the Godfather. This is an offer you can refuse.
Take a little video when they come and post it on Sustainable West Hartford Facebook page. You can do that if you join the Facebook group and say, this is what I just did. You should do it too.
Very good.
Sure. Yeah, I did join that group. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
So anyone can post stuff there.
Okay, everybody. Please stay safe. I see that Connecticut has turned red again on the COVID map. So it's Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey, and Connecticut, and Michigan have turned red. So hopefully anybody that's older is getting vaccinated and the rest of you are not being crazy.
Hey, Bernie?
Yes, sir.
One question here, maybe Chris can chime in. With looks like maybe the potential closing of the trash to energy plant in Hartford, is, if this thing happens, it looks like our waste problems are going to get very costly, and we're going to lose another source of kind of renewable energy, I guess, of some sort. Is there anything the town is doing to try and help with that? Or maybe Chris, I don't know if you know on your end what's going on.
Well, I mean, we've been running at deep with towns since the fall of last year. The Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Materials Management process, where working with towns, and I think we have 80 something towns signed up currently, so about half the towns in Connecticut, working on waste reduction actions that can be taken to reduce the amount that's actually going for disposal, whether it's at a trash to energy plant or at a landfill. This is diverting material to composting facilities or anaerobic digesters. It's getting, more textiles diverted. It's getting, yard waste out of the trash. So there's a lot of stuff that we as residents in Connecticut put in our trash bin that could be going elsewhere. So, it's working on education and developing infrastructure and things that we can do to kind of divert material and reduce the amount that has to go to disposal. At the end of the day, that loss of the Mid-Connecticut Trash Energy Facility in Hartford will be a huge loss capacity-wise. But if all towns in Connecticut started implementing measures that would reduce waste generation, it could offset some of the pain we'll be feeling from that. And I often look at the parallel with electricity. Before you go and build a whole bunch of new generation, you try to achieve as much energy efficiency as possible. In the waste world, you try to achieve as much waste reduction as possible before you start figuring out what type of new capacity might be needed. So we'll see. Unfortunately, there's no kind of silver bullet new technology to process trash. We do have new technology like the anaerobic digesters that can take in food waste and create energy from that and have a beneficial product that comes out of the process at the end. But for trash, really, trash energy plants or landfilling are kind of the two main options in play. And there's not like a new technology out there that we can promote to come in and be the next gen solution for us at this point.
Maybe, Bernie, maybe we should invite Catherine Bruns to the next commission meeting and just have her give an update on what the town is doing. If they're looking at rolling out any significant programs to reduce waste or in planning stages, or I don't know.
I'm all for that. I think that, especially since I think it is kind of an emergency for the region. As I understand it, Chris, West Hartford's trash goes to the Covanta plant in Bristol, so we're not directly impacted, but I think that's short-sighted. I think that it's going to be a crisis for the whole region.
Well, yeah, I mean, and as that Mid-Connecticut capacity goes away, then those towns are all going to be competing with the remaining capacity that's out there. So, whenever West Hartford's contract next expires, there's going to be less space to get in. Or if there, let's say we have an in still with Covanta, you can count on the price going up. Like there's even when we had consistent capacity, there were annual increments in the tipping fee for trash. But with the loss of that capacity, it's gonna you'll probably see a big jump.
Yeah. And I'll just emphasize one of the things that my wife and I have done a lot of walking in the pandemic, and the days have been windy, so we get to look at everybody's trash as we're walking along. And first of all, I think recycling compliance is non-existent. I see styrofoam, I see plastic bags, I see everything that shouldn't be in everything. The other thing I also see is all sorts of branches, and I also see how few people compost their material. So I think if you want to be optimistic, you can say we have a lot of room for improvement. I think we could take a lot of material, like you were saying, out.
Yeah, I mean, the town offers a great service now, collecting yard waste from spring to fall. You can either put it in the brown paper bags, or you can buy one of the brown carts. It's a one-time purchase, and you can all summer long fill it up with bush trimmings and branches that might fall in your yard. Cut up, and it's great. And all that stuff not going into the trash bin is a win for the town because it goes to the Brixton Street station for processing. It's made into compost or wood chips, and otherwise we're paying probably upwards $90, $100 a ton to burn it at a trash energy plant, where it could and should be going to somewhere, a different facility.
Yeah. And I'll just say my nightmare is that 60 or some odd towns, or whatever it is, 70 towns that were serviced by the Hartford incinerator, if we have to start putting that on rail cars and trucks and shipping it to Ohio or Pennsylvania, I mean, that's just horrible on so many dimensions that so Catherine, I think we should invite the other Catherine with a K to our next meeting. And there might be some chance if we're going to have, for example, some sort of outreach on energy efficiency and heat pumps, we might, other towns are layering on another technique. And so we might be able to do a little bit of coordinated action there. So good suggestion. And I'm guessing James has got that on his next meeting.
I did. I asked Catherine Bruns to be on the next call about the trash material issue within West Hartford and Connecticut.
Perfect. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too, Bernie, and
All right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned at 8:37.
8:37, that's it.
We're official, James.
All right.